Hi, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Garrett Richardson, and I'm a high performance coach. I work with middle school and high school athletes on how to train their mind as they do their body. Because Hall of Fame coach Nolan Richardson and I do take this pandemic very seriously, we will be sitting 6 feet apart as well as wearing a mask. With no further ado, let's begin. Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Conversations with Grandpa. Today, as you know, I'm talking to Coach Nolan Richardson, and I have a question for you. You know, the year 2020 has been a year none of us have experienced in our lives, and it's been very difficult. And as a coach, I can only imagine the difficulties that they're experiencing. And so my question to you is, what would you do and how would you coach in a pandemic like we're experiencing today?
Well, I'll tell you, Garrett, it's really a tough situation for the players and the coaches, and of course the fans who have enjoyed it so much. This is the times that is very difficult for you not to start working with your kids on their minds. Mm-hmm. You know, I always say that you get your body in shape, you also must get the mind or the brain in shape also.
Right.
And that means that you have to pay attention to what the scientists are talking about. Now, some of us get antsy to want to work our kids out, and we just work. And before you know it, they've worked themselves in condition and back out. Mm-hmm. Because the burn part of it. Mm-hmm. Some coaches have started since June, July, August, September, October. That's a long time of basketball.
Right.
So it's important, from my standpoint, is that we start teaching with the brain or the mind. In other words, now you have a chance to go over situations with them. Now you have a chance to play some games of using your mind and your brain. For example, give them a quiz. Is it a basketball quiz? Yes. You got 4 minutes to play. Who's ahead? I'm ahead. Who's got the clock on their side? Who got the clock against them? Will you shoot a layup only? Are you by yourself and you're on your way down the floor? There's 10 seconds on the clock, you're one up. Would you just keep on going and dribble it on out, or would you go down and trust to make the layup? All these kind of things come into play, and therefore you are getting the mind or the brain in shape to go along with the body.
Right.
Because once the body breaks down and the mind tells the body what to do, the body says, hey, I can't do that no more.
Right.
After a while, the brain is not functioning the way you want it to go. So it's important that you cut your practices, physical. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm a firm believer of working hard, but my belief is that you work hard short, not hard long.
Right.
Short. Cut your practice. If you're working an hour and a half, if I worked an hour, I'm going 30 minutes.
Uh-huh.
If I worked an hour and a half, I'm going half of that. I'm just going to cut it in half until we find out where we're going to go with this pandemic. You don't even know if you have the same player before the game. Something could happen.
Right.
I mean, everything's a big. It's really difficult, and so the most important thing is to stay safe.
Right.
That is the most important thing. Keep it away from having the kids to go home. Why? You go home for Thanksgiving. Christmas has just passed. Thanksgiving's already passed. New Year's is coming. Kids want to eat their mother's cooking.
Right.
Sometimes you can't go eat mama's cooking right now.
Right.
You got to sacrifice and to live,
Mm-hmm.
So people in your home and in your home setting, well, you don't want to take something to them. So it's very important that the coaches clearly describe all the things that I'm talking about. You know, sit down and make sure that each one of your players understand that they're important. And what they do is very important.
Right. And so, Coach, you touched on a few things I'd like to make a comment on. And for those of you who know Coach Richardson and not so much about myself, I'm a high-performance coach that does mental training for middle school and high school athletes. And right now is such a crucial time for them to take advantage of it because the season isn't like what they're used to. And so when Coach talks about doing what I believe he calls skull practice, is where you're working on the mind, self-development is crucial right now. And what we do know is that the brain doesn't know what's real and what's not. So if you visualize and get your kids to visualize, even coaches, to visualize themselves in a game situation in what they would do, like Coach said, the brain tells the body what to do. So if you're telling it and showing it what its capabilities are, and you attach feeling to go along with that, then your player and you as a coach, if you are coaching, will see growth even with you not touching a basketball or football, a tennis racket, regardless of what it is, because it's the brain that operates it all. And so, Coach, we know it's important about self-development. It's pretty crucial for coaches right now to take this time to grow themselves as well, would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no time actually that you don't spend trying to improve who you are and what you stand for and what your team's all about, what the program's all about. All of these things come into play now because you get to use exactly what you just mentioned. You get to have a visualization of what it is that you want. I like to use an illustration of the golf swing.
Right.
It's muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the muscle can remember what you have put out on it, then you're going to have that same swing basically all the way through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no difference in the mind going as a coach. If you don't put good thoughts and work the thoughts out in your mind,
right,
it may not happen of what you think should happen. So this is a good time to self-evaluate.
Right.
Check yourself. It ain't always the kid's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't always the coach's fault. But most of the time it is. Because even if it's not your fault, it's your fault.
Right.
So anyway, it's imperative that you don't overwork. That's the word that I have to use more than don't overwork the brain and don't overwork the body.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, leave us a comment. Basically, show us some love. And if you have a question for Coach Richardson or I, leave it in the comment box. You never know. It might be the question I ask in our next episode. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you the next go around with Conversations with Grandpa.